2 HP Life partners. I wanted to let you know a couple of things about the webinar today, just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. So all attendees are on mute and there is no video. We will use chat to talk to other attendees and ask questions and also introduce yourself. So if you haven't introduced yourself already, please introduce yourself to everyone. Tell us what country you're from and your interest in growing and scaling a business. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, so please send us your questions. We'd love to be able to try to answer those. The webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recorded presentation will be available on HP Life and WorldSkills website in a few days. I will send the slides out that will be used today, as well as some of the templates used in the presentation today to all the registrants after the webinar. And we can start recording, which I think we have. So I'm very pleased to have Michael, the CEO of the Gamified Startup, tell us how to grow and scale businesses using the Gamified Startup Toolkit. Michael consults startups and established companies on how to innovate and optimize their growth engines. Michael, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Debbie. I'm excited to be here and to introduce the concept of Gamified Startup and how you can use it for our business to accelerate the growth. I would just start and introduce you to the concept. So the topic of this session is, okay, how I can build growth engines, how I can accelerate growth. So the first questions I would like to discuss is, okay, how growth works, how I could think about growth. We need a simple model to be able to, as a team, build growth systems or grow our business. So I use a very simple model to think about growth. I think if you want to accelerate growth, you need to have something many people need. Yeah, so this is the first step. When many people need something I have, we need to enable them to find us in a second step. After they find us, we want that they like what they found. Yeah. After they like what they found, we hope that they will try it and they will get happy with our solution. After they are happy, it would be cool if they would pay. Yeah. And if they pay, we would really want to motivate them to pay again. Yeah. And in the last step, it would be very awesome when they would share how our products are great and they would tell others. So if we want to accelerate growth, we want to move people from needs, from the time when they recognize their needs to the point when they get happy, when they pay, when they share our great solutions. Yeah. So to accelerate growth, we want to increase the conversions. We want to increase how many people who need what we have, how many of them will find us, how many will try our solutions, would pay, and would tell others. And we want to also accelerate the flow, so the speed, how they move from needs to our promoters. So this is a simple model, and this is inspired by Get, Keep, Grow funnel. So we could also dissect this process into the 3 stages, like Get stage, where we try to attract our customers, a Keep stage, where we want to keep them engaged and happy with our product, and the Grow stage, when we want to grow with them, where we want to make them buy more from us and motivate them to tell others. So this is a Get, Keep, Grow funnel from Steve Blank. Maybe somebody of you already know this model from his great book, The Startup Business Manual. So this is the simple model I use for thinking about growth. And the question is, okay, how can I make growth happen? So how can I search what should I do or what should my team do to accelerate growth? For this, I use a simple process called, okay, from Lean Startup. We have made some adjustment to the process. We call it Act, Measure, Learn instead of Build, Measure, Learn to show that, okay, my question is, okay, what would I do next in my project to accelerate growth? What would be the hacks? After I do something, I try to measure the effect, the outcomes. I try to learn from it, and I try to adjust my assumptions about growth. Yeah, so it's simple three-step process. And the question is, okay, how could I manage this process? How could I really collaboratively with my team search what should I do, in which order should I do the things to accelerate the growth in my project? So how could I organize my thinking about growth? I'm sure you know this tool, the business model canvas. It's a very known tool for, okay, how could I organize my thinking about business model? It shows how my business works. But what we need is to think about, okay, how would my business grow? Yeah. So this get, keep, grow funnel, what I will show you, connects on the elements like customer relationship channels, and we go in more detail. And our question is, okay, how could I do my business grow? The get, keep, grow funnel, what we developed for Gamified Startup Toolkit, this is one of more tools that we have, and it looks similar like business model canvas, but the model differs. And I will introduce you to the concept. So we have one board for each step in this process. So one board is for where I track the hacks. So what should we do to make the growth happen? Second board shows me how the flow happens, how the people flow through my funnel. And the third board shows my assumptions about growth. So it looks something like this. And what I want to share with you in this presentation is how could I work with it? How could I work with my team to search for growth? So first step, what we do is to visualize our assumptions. So what we think, how the growth will happen. Yeah, this is the simple model that I use. It has some fields like business model canvas where you ask questions, where you give the answers, and your answers which you think, okay, this assumption is good, this field looks good, I mark with green color. Assumptions which are risky or uncertain, I mark yellow, and fields which are really risky, which could break my growth model, I would put red. So it could look something like this. Yeah, so I have some fields. It starts in the upper left corner with core use case. So the first field is, okay, what my customers try to accomplish? Why would they use my product? So for example, for Gamified Startup Toolkit, the use case could be, I want to accelerate my project. Other use case could be, I want to use it for coaching. So depending on which use case you enter in the first field, all other fields would change, and also the colors of your assumptions would change. So you could brainstorm or analyze your assumptions about the needs, about how people find you, how they like it, how they try it and get happy, how they pay for it, and how they tell others. On the bottom, we have some validation board, which is adapted from Lean Analytics, where we could, through interviews, validate and rate the interest or the resonance of our customers. So depending which use case we enter in the field number one, we could have more alternatives about these funnels. And you see some are more red or yellow, and this one looks best. So first step, we try to find, okay, which is the most attractive funnel, which we should build. So let's say I decide for this one. Then the second question is, okay, this would be only assumptions what I have, but the second question is, okay, which steps will my customers take to find me, to try our products, to get happy, and so on. So in the second step, I designed the flow through the funnel. And looks something like this. Okay, we have people who found us. These are our visitors, people who get interested and give us the contact details, download ebook, and so on, become contacts, and people who buy from us become customers. We could look at this also like this: visitors, leads, So potential customers who are interested, opportunities where we could define, okay, they want to buy something concrete from us, and then we want to close those opportunities and make customers, and happy customers become promoters who tell others. Yeah. So in the second step, we need to design, okay, which are the steps how the potential customers flow through the funnel. I will show an example on Gamified Startup, how we build our funnel or our growth strategy. So let's say my channels, how people find me, I would use some ads like LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads, I use Xing ads and so on. Then we could use some referral links. So for example, people who attend our workshops post, or we use some newsletters with events which post and tell people, okay, about our workshops, so people find us. Social posts, we could use, of course, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on. Or accelerators who already use the toolkit and post or organize workshops, tell others about us. Yeah, so this is how people could find us in this example. Okay, where do people go after they get the information? Mostly on the website would be the first step. When they come to the website, okay, we try to send them to our download package, which is for free, where people could download the information about the toolkit for free. Second step would be, okay, this is how it looks like. They sign up the form and download the package. Second step could be, okay, they could subscribe for updates. And in the third step, they could, for example, buy our toolkit package, which is 29 euros. Some of them may be interested to know more about it, and they have the ability to book, for example, free intro session, which we try to make simple, so they just online book through an online form, find a free slot and book a session. So what I try to show here, we try to make a simple step-by-step process, which we could measure later, how many people achieve each stage, and we try to move them through information to the next stage, to the next milestone. Yeah, so the next milestone here could be after we have the free intro session, we could do some negotiation about what could be our cooperation or deal look like. So let's say they could decide if they attend our public trainings, in-house trainings, or they try our support, startup support through discounted warm-up package to test if it works for them. So each step could be designed and could be measured, and we could optimize each step to move people from left to right to the more to offerings which are more attractive for us and also for the customer. So let's say we offer HubSpot support and other services. And on the end, some products or some projects we do co-founding, or we acquire organizers who could organize workshops in their city. So we try for every step to design the way how the people could interact, and so that we move as many as possible from, okay, they found us for the first time visitors to customers and to our promoters. Yeah. So the question is, how could we accomplish this? The first step, we design this flow, we analyze the assumptions. Also with these assumptions or the flow, we could visualize with colors, like for example, green fields or green milestones are milestones which we are satisfied, where the people flow good through them. Red milestones are, for example, milestones which we need to improve quickly, so because many people stop there, for example. Other milestones, like these orange milestones, are milestones which we plan for the future. Yeah, so on this board, you can simply see, okay, where should we focus now? So what is the next important milestone we should work on? Let's say you have your assumptions and you have your flow designed. Now you could ask, okay, what should we do? What are the next steps? For this purpose, we have developed, based on this model, a new board, which, okay, the slide is a little bit distorted, but sorry for that. Based on the need, for example, we search for ideas which would help us understand the need, to understand the needability. From the find to increase the probability that people find us, we try to optimize the findability. From likability, if they try it, it should work for them, so we call it workability. If we want to enable them to pay, or we try to create paid offerings, so we try to increase the payability, and so on. Shareability, and of course the scalability, we want to increase the flow through the funnel and accelerate it. So let's say these are 7 areas where we could develop new hacks or new ideas how to improve the performance in each part of the funnel. So we would brainstorm, okay, we could, for example, for findability, let's build a Facebook page, let's do Facebook ads, and so on. For each area, you could have multiple hacks or multiple topics you could learn or educate yourself about. Let's say to understand needability, you could build clickable prototypes and do interviews, or do some ad campaigns with lead generation, so put landing page to test if there is resonance for what you do. And for workability, you have other topics, like you can create new features, you can do in-app chat or create video guides or whatever, everything what would improve how people learn and how people can get value from your product. Then we would develop ideas for payability, create new offerings, new ideas about how to motivate them to buy the next product from you, and so on. In shareability, you have other topics. So these are topics I don't want to go into detail now, but you just, only if you would Google them, you would find countless hacks or ideas how to use this topic to improve growth performance. Yeah, in findability, there are topics you already know, of course, SEO, paid ads, and so on. For scalability, we use like marketing automation tools, software as a service tools, and other services to possibly automate the movement of those customers through the funnel. Also, for these ideas, what you have, these hacks, you could also use colors. Here's an example. The red one, okay, we need to do right now, so this is the highest priority. And the orange one, for example, we plan for the future. Yeah, for each part of the funnel. So with this board, you could sort your ideas. You could ask yourself, okay, what I want to improve if I establish a new blog, or if I create a new video guide, and so on. So each idea you have could be included in one of these 7 containers, and you could more easily decide which part of the funnel I want to optimize and which idea should I take action next. But in which order would you focus? So the process what we use is, okay, as a first step, we focus on the needability. We want to understand if people need what we try to offer, how should we design it so that it would work for them, and so on. To increase workability would be the second step. We would build MVP, so minimum product which would lead to happiness. Then we would look, okay, how could they pay for it? What could be the offerings? How much would they pay? Then we would look, okay, which features could we build, or what could we do so that they tell others, so that our marketing channels would be not overwhelmed by too much cost to find new customers. In the 5th step, we would work on likability. So when people find us, okay, what could we do so that they get motivated to try our offerings? Findability, we would, after the flow, after we are satisfied with how people flow through the funnel, we could then start to build new channels and to broaden the possibilities how people find our offerings after they need them. And scalability is something what you do from the beginning, where you look, okay, how could I do each step so that it's possibly easy to do, or it's automatic and repeatable, to make the flow happen. So I showed you three boards. The first step was, okay, the assumptions. Second step, we draw the flow through the funnel. Then we have brainstormed the hacks. And in the fourth step, we would, the question is, okay, how could we measure what is happening in the funnel? So I move back to the third board. We have already the flow, and there are multiple things what we could measure. So first thing, what we could measure could be, okay, how many people achieve which milestone. So let's say this month, 1,000 people came to our website, only 50 people downloaded the free package, only 10 people did free intro session, for example. And we could ask ourselves, okay, what could we do to improve the performance in next month or in next 3 months? So first thing, we could measure how many people achieve which milestone. Second thing, okay, how many people achieve which stage in the funnel? For example, okay, we have 1,000 visits. We have from those visits we have 200 leads. From leads, there are 30 opportunities and 5 new customers and so on. So we could measure, okay, the performance in each part of the funnel. Next thing, okay, we could define metrics for each part of the funnel. For example, in the keep funnel, in the middle, you could measure, for example, net promoter score. On the get funnel, you could measure signups. You could define metrics to which you want to optimize for each part of the funnel. And in the next step, you could set goals. Yeah, let's say I want to improve next month. I want to improve the downloads of the free package, for example. So I could ask myself, okay, which hacks or which actions would I take to increase the performance? So this is the bottom of the. So I would just take my post-its, which I had in the hacking in the board before, where I had the actions, and those hacks which I executed, which I take action on. These are those hacks which now should improve the performance in some part of the funnel. And this is how it looks like in our office, for example. On the left, you see the assumptions. In the middle, there are the hacks. And on the right side, there is the flow. So these are only post-its on the wall. And if you see the red post-its, these are the post-its which we need to focus on next. And the green post-its, okay, this is what looks good, what is validated, where we are satisfied with the performance. Okay, would you also see, okay, there are two rows or of the board. So this is why, because you create one funnel per, for example, per segment. Let's say we would want to sell the toolkit to startups, so we would create one funnel board for startups, and other segment or other role in our business model could be coaches who would use the toolkit for coaching. So we could create one funnel for coaches, and each funnel would have different assumptions. Each funnel would have different channels on different hacks we would need to build the flow. And what we are trying to accomplish with all this is, of course, we want to minimize the customer acquisition cost. So how much money do I spend per each customer? So if we build our growth funnel with the sharing and the shareability component, this is something I use my own customers to tell others. So this is something which would really decrease my customer acquisition cost. So that's why we focus on the right part of the funnel in the beginning. After we have achieved the workability and the MVP or some prototype is working well, we see happiness. We could try see, okay, what we could charge for, what are our offerings, and how could we bring the people to tell others to decrease the customer acquisition costs. And on the right side, we try to also build the customer lifetime value. So With new offerings, we could think, okay, how much we charge for what, by which segment. We could create new offerings for new segments, new roles, or new use cases, what we have. So to put a summary on this, we use a simple growth model, which is, like you saw, very easy to understand. Okay, anybody in our team understands, okay, people move from need to, they need to find us, they need to like what they found, they need to try it, they need to pay, tell others, and so on. And there are so many ideas you can find to accelerate this flow in each part of the funnel. So first thing what we do, okay, we analyze the assumptions. There we see, okay, there are multiple alternatives depending on which use case we analyze. And this is the first source of my ideas, okay, what could I do and where are the weak spots, where should I do interviews, check if, okay, if this would be a real barrier to our customers to flow through the funnel. And second important source of new hacks or new ideas is the flow. So I could simply create new channels, I could create new steps, new offerings. For example, let's say I would want to sell some consulting, for example, to our customers, and my first offering would be 200,000 euros. So nobody would flow so quickly to this big offering. So before I offer something so big, I could create smaller offerings or for free offerings, like, for example, the free download package, and to move people step by step from milestone to milestone, and to optimize this flow and to accelerate it. So, and how do I accelerate it? Of course, we need to communicate. So let's say somebody achieved the first milestone, he needs different information from me to move forward. So he needs some introductory information. After somebody becomes customer and knows how everything works, he becomes power user, he needs more advanced information. So the thing is, we need to look, okay, how could we communicate, how could we automate this communication, and how could we send the right information at the right time to the right people, so that they can move from their milestone, where they currently are, to the next. So after I know, okay, which is my flow, which are my assumptions, I could search for hacks, and I could prioritize them. In order, like I showed you, I would first want to understand the needability. So I would create prototypes, do interviews, look how people do the things today, try to understand, okay, where are the problems in their workflows, and would search for ideas, okay, how could I improve it? And I would have some visual representations on that, so that they can give me feedback. So I would understand, okay, this idea looks interesting for them, and I would try to learn, okay, what should I build out of this concept to enable the workability in the second step. So the minimum prototype which would make them happy. And after I test the happiness and I see, okay, it's easy to use for them, they get value, they understand that it's a cool thing, then I'm in good position to look, okay, what could I charge for it and by which segment. So for example, if I have a new product, often the same technology or the same product could be used for multiple use cases, could be used for multiple segments, and we could package it in multiple offerings which are priced properly for each segment and for each use case. And okay, after I optimize the payability and I can see, okay, people are ready to pay for the products, I would look, okay, how could I make them to share it? There are multiple topics where you could search for growth hacks, like I showed you in the slide before. Maybe I can go back there. So here you have multiple ideas. Yeah, for each part in the funnel, there are multiple topics or categories of hacks where you could just Google for new tips or new ways how to find hacks for your part in the funnel. So in shareability, for example, affiliate marketing tools, referral marketing tools, or try to build features which lead to inviting other users or other people, or you give rewards and so on. So there is multiple things you could do to enable your happy customers to tell others and to minimize your customer acquisition costs. So, and after we prioritize the hacks, we need to measure if I change something, for example, on our website, I change the message, I create new offering, does it improve the flow through the funnel? So can I motivate more people to try the offering? Can I make them customers? Can I enable them to pay? Each idea what I have could be tested, and I could monitor the flow, and if people are moving quicker and to the next steps easier. So what you saw, these are the three boards, one for the assumptions, one for the hacks, and one for the flow, where I could measure if the flow gets better or if I need to create new steps or make it easier to flow through the funnel. So I don't want to lose people after I create channels and they only come to our website, and there are many projects where there is no action taken, or the founders don't know, okay, why the people don't start to use the product, and make it not easy to understand, for example, what is the product about, why, where is the problem. So there is even never, or many teams never design this flow so that they cannot measure, okay, where they lose the people in the process. So I hope you understood this simple concept. There are three steps. You develop ideas with your team. You need to decide, okay, which one will I take action on. Each idea or each hack you want to execute cost time or could cost money. So you would try to minimize this cost and try to do hacks which are easier to do, and where you can learn, okay, could this have impact or improve the flow in the funnel. Yeah, these are the authors. My co-founder Sven is doing the visualizations of the boards. What you can see here also in the down left corner, there are more tools to think about growth, for example, like persona board, or if you have, for example, multiple segments, there could be the situation, okay, your product could be used by multiple segments or could have multiple use cases. So, for example, many projects which became successful changed their use case over time. So the team started with some use case. Let's say PayPal was before the cryptographic software, or YouTube was a video dating platform on the beginning, and it changed over time drastically. What the nearly same technology was then later used for. So if one funnel don't work, you could just change, okay, what is the use case? Maybe we test something different. The assumptions will change. Maybe some new hacks need to get executed. You need maybe some one or two new features to enable the happiness or the workability. And you could design new flow for new use case and see if you get more people attracted, if they are more excited about the offerings. And you could just switch the direction of your project. what I wanted to say with this, that if you have vision for a company, you need to take into account that the first vision don't work so good out as you expect. So you need to take into account that you will need to change something. You will maybe need to change your use case, what people are using your products for, or you need to find new segments where you will focus on. And you will need to validate first. That's why you take too much time and too much actions in one direction. You want to validate, okay, do I understand the needability, and maybe change your direction or use case before you build everything. So let's say you go for some use case, you will build multiple channels and start marketing quickly, and you will try to scale something where maybe the flow is not working, where people just stop in one step before they become customer. And what startups often do, okay, they are so excited about their use case and about their funnel, so that they invest everything in one direction, and often called also premature scaling. So you try to scale the funnel, you will try to push too many people into the funnel too early, before you have fixed your flow. So if your flow, if there are holes in your pipeline, in your funnel, it's like you are pumping too much water into the pipeline, and you have holes there, the water flow out. So what you try to do, okay, you just put enough water to see if there are holes. So you could see if there are holes in your funnel, even if you learn only with not so many customers, or you don't need to do too much marketing to see, okay, if they would flow through your flow and become your promoters. So you try to, in the beginning, you try to not to build too many funnels, only maybe one funnel where you focus on, one channel where you focus on. This could be also your network or friends of your friends, and to find to first put some people into your funnel and see, okay, how far would they flow, and you will try to fix the things before you build next channels and invest more time in building new features. Yeah, so the more information about the project, about the tools, you will find on the website, gamified.com. Maybe we'll also send you the assumptions board and some introduction guides. You will also receive the slides. I hope you would get some new ideas from this. As you saw here, it's how we use the tools. We just printed on A1 paper and put it on the wall and use Post-its to visualize the assumptions, the flow, and the hacks what we have. I think this is something, since we do this like this, it's much easier to communicate with team to see, okay, where are the weak spots in the flow, what should we do. It's much easier to focus on those things which need to get fixed next, and not to do too many things at once. And keep in mind, okay, you just want to improve your flow, you want to decrease the customer acquisition cost, and you want to create new offerings after you see happiness and see, okay, maybe I can find new use cases, I can find new segments, create new packages, or some free offerings and so on, so that you can accelerate the flow through the funnel. Okay, so I'm through the presentation, and I'm ready for questions. Debbie?
Yes, I am here. As we get Grace back on with all the questions she's been collecting. If anybody does have more questions, please put them in chat, and we've got lots. So Grace, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you very much, Michelle, first of all, for this very comprehensive and interesting presentation about growing a business. We have several questions here, and I'll just fire away with the first one. Is this tool also useful for someone who wants to just scale a project idea within a company? It's not necessary for a startup. And do you have an approach growth differently if you are a startup versus established business? If possible, maybe you could give us an example to explain this.
Okay, this tool is already used in corporations, and it's also used in startups. So the principles are the same. You want to design a flow, and you want to make as many people as possible. You are moving from visitor to customer. Yeah. So this is a generic principle, and so how corporations use this approach is, okay, today many corporations start to build startups, like corporate startups inside of company, small teams which test new ideas, and they need to create new funnels and see if they can scale them. Yeah, so it can be used in corporation as well, and also there are projects which are already far, so the product is done, there are many customers, but still they search for new growth hacks or new ideas, how to improve their funnels or find new use cases and discover new segments and so on. So this is useful also for startups which already have traction, which have grow already. And it's also good for startups which are in the beginning. So I can start with simply draw my assumptions. I can do interviews. I can validate those assumptions. I can design the flow. So I can see, okay, let's say our first channel is Facebook. Then our next milestone is coming to the website. Second milestone is, I don't know, downloading free ebook. So you could, from the beginning, start to design your flow and validate your assumptions. So the principles and the methodologies in the toolkit are already known. So this is based on Lean Startup. It's based on customer development by Steve Blank. Other tools we use are based on design thinking. So there are multiple methods in this toolkit integrated together, and our goal was to make it applicable so that the team could collaboratively use those principles without reading hundreds of books to understand how these methods work.
That's really great to know. And can this model be applied to, say, a nonprofit organization, because they usually focus on people impact instead of generating revenue?
Yeah. So still, even nonprofit organizations need to get money somehow. Yeah. So they have often a role like, for example, sponsors or donators. So they need funnel for those. They need as many donators as possible. So they need to create funnel for donators and also for those projects or people who need their help. So for each role you have in your business model, you need, like, for example, eBay, you have buyer and seller. So you could build a funnel for the buyer and you could build one funnel for the seller. In non-profit organization, you could build one funnel for donators and one funnel for those who need your help.
Yep, that does make sense. And just going back to startup, at the early stage of a startup, for example, when they plan for their growth by making the key assumptions, as you mentioned earlier in your presentation, are there common holes or areas where people usually get stuck or most struggle with?
Yes. So first of all, first thing is, okay, when they first find the new product or the new company, often case there is problem with the communication, so that the people don't understand what the startup is about. So the founders think they know what they do, and it's often innovative, and people don't really understand, okay, what is the use case? What should I use it for? If the founders build a startup from inside out, so that they just build and don't validate because they keep the idea secret or so on. They communicate on the ideas from their perspective. People don't understand, so that they are stuck in the first step when they find the startup and don't try the offerings. Second problem is after they find and try the offerings, maybe they are not getting happy with the product, or they don't understand how to use it. So there is work to be done. Okay, how could I accelerate to minimize the time to wow or to aha effect when people try your offerings. So there is sometimes really hard to understand how the products work and so on. Other problems are if the startups define the minimum product too broad, so there is no clear focus on segment or use case, and try to build for everybody. They need to build multiple features, and the product gets too complicated. They need too much time to test the happiness and to find new customers. Yeah, so these are often the problems that the products are either the concept was not validated before they build it, or it's too complicated, and the happiness is not understood. It is not understood how the customers get happy, and startup is building new and new features to make it more attractive, but often they overcomplicate the product, and it gets even worse.
Yep. Yeah, that's very good to know. And you, in your presentation, you used your own company as an example.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would like to know what was the top first or the one or two things that you did in your business to increase the growth?
So what I did was I spent much time to create the product or to create the toolkit, and I was searching for happiness. So I was doing workshop, and everything what I did was I did it with my customers. So everything what is in the toolkit is coming into the toolkit from real life projects what we did. And when we get stuck in a project, we were searching for a solution, and we tried to put it in the toolkit to make it repeatable to solve the solution. So we built a toolkit on the project. So that was the first step what we had. And in the beginning, the toolkit gets then too complicated. So it was hard to use without our assistance. And yeah, so we were simplifying the toolkit to only focus on the growth topics now, and only to use the same model in 3 versions, because to enable you to practice the lean startup, to the build, measure, learn process. So we leave the methodology on the methodology itself. Yeah, so for example, we still don't have many channels. We use channels from our partners or from our customers, but if you go to our Facebook page, you see, there is not so much happening right now, because we still had different things to do. So we was working on the happiness part, we was working on the offerings. What could we offer? How could we make it payable for startups? How could we make different offerings for corporates and so on? And also on the topic of shareability, so how could we make it more shareable for our customers to tell others? And yeah, so as you saw in the flow and the colors, this is nearly a current situation. It's not everything there, but for example, the red color was on the free download package, and it's really so that we now work on the guide, so that if somebody download the tools, he could learn how to use them without our assistance. Yeah, so this is something which needs time, where we need to invest time to build a nice guide which is visual, which people have fun to read and to apply. But still, we was waiting with this heavy work until we know, the toolkit works, until we know, how the people get happy and how it helps in their projects. So now is the right time to do the guides, because if we did it before, there were so many things which changed and which we learned on the way. So now yeah, we build a funnel like in the order, like I showed the needability, workability, and so on, the order of steps and focus in the funnel.
Yep. I think that example really is very helpful in terms of demonstrating how you've gone through that journey, identifying the weak parts in order to grow, especially for those who will be interested in trying out the sample template for their own business idea. So as a consulting company, when you consult with companies, just out of curiosity, are there any common metrics that companies use to measure their own growth and success?
Yeah, so those metrics I was mentioning are metrics which are recommended to measure each part of the growth engine. But of course, there are the problems that the companies often case measure things which are not so important to measure, but are easy to measure. Yeah, so for example, the problem is in the product and in the happiness, and they measure the amount of likes on Facebook. So of course it's easy to measure, but if I need to measure the happiness inside of the product, it will not help. Yeah, so also this is something what we try to accomplish to make it easier to define the metrics. So what I should measure, and this really depends on the design of the flow, what you draw there, and you want to really see, okay, that the people flow through possibly quickly and don't get stuck somewhere in the funnel.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you, Michelle. These are all the questions we have right now. I see that there's
one more that came in, a couple more that came in actually. So how do you include the quality process here in the growth funnel?
How do I include quality process?
Yes.
Quality process of my product delivery, or?
I would say probably of your product, and maybe that's part of your customer happiness. If the customer is happy with the product, probably you have good quality.
Yeah. So yeah, this is what I do. I try to measure the happiness through the Net Promoter Score, for example. So for those who don't know the metric, is okay, how likely are my customer? So I ask my customer, how likely are you from 0 to 10 to recommend it to our friends? And if he tells, okay, 9 or 10, he's my promoter. If he tells 7 to 8, he's something like neutral. Or if he tells 0 to 6, he's something like my disliker. Yeah. So this is how I measure the happiness. Then of course I do the interviews with the scoring system that I showed you in the one template in the assumptions board. This is also interesting rating system which I adapted from Lean Analytics. For those who don't know this book, it's really very interesting book about, okay, how will you find out what you can measure and how to measure the things. And this interview scoring system is how I measure the quality of the concept and also those assumptions in the funnel. But quality of production or of the product, it's not included there are other methodologies to optimize quality of product and to minimize mistakes in production and so on. So if the question was about production optimization, this is not the toolkit for. Here is the focus. Okay, how could I accelerate the flow, and which ideas do I execute to accelerate the flow in the funds?
Great. We had an example of one of the attendees, one of the companies that they're trying to start up, which is a solar systems and solar heaters company. Do you have any recommendations for this person about things they should try, or have you consulted with a similar company and what have you seen work?
I did not consult a solar system company, but I consulted other companies which have, I would say, these solar systems will be kind of expensive projects or offerings. So this is something, okay, what you could do is not just do it like, okay, I create website and I tell, okay, my projects, what you have, you need to have budget of, I don't know, 500,000 euros, so we can start to work with you. I would look, okay, what could I do to create first free offerings? So for example, I could create some, let's say, free ebook or free introduction session or a free workshop, or I don't know. So I would create a chain of steps which are for free and or which are not expensive. For example, I could create some educational offerings which are paid. So I can develop step by step the customer into understanding of the benefit of my new technology or expensive systems or whatever. So also so that they can experience, okay, how the project what would be the steps in the project, so that they can experience, okay, how long will it take, how much money will they need for which step, and so on.
I think those are great ideas, so thank you very much. I think that's all of our questions that we have today, so I just want to thank you as well for an excellent webinar and really excellent information and a great framework of how to grow and scale your business. So really appreciate having you here and your expertise. And we are going to be closing the webinar at this point. So again, thank you, Mikhail, and thank you for all the attendees for attending. I will be sending out a link to the recording of the webinar as well as the templates and slides. I know a few of you had some audio problems. You will be able to hear the full webinar on YouTube as soon as I get you the link. So thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. All right. Goodbye, everybody.